As we've discussed on prior occasions, we know that hate crimes in many United States cities are at their highest level since the FBI began collecting data in the 1990s. Los Angeles alone has seen almost 700, or saw almost 700 hate crimes in the year 2022, its highest total ever. Hate crimes are also known to be widely underreported, so the real numbers are very likely to be much higher. Now, hate crimes based on anti-Semitism in particular are rising at alarming rates. According to the Center for the Study of Hate and Extremism at California State University, San Bernardino, Los Angeles faced 80 anti-Semitic hate crimes from January to October of last year, a nearly 10% increase over the previous year. And this past month, federal prosecutors charged a 28-year-old man with hate crimes after he fired at two Jewish men as they walked home from their synagogue in Los Angeles. So my question is this: do we have adequate resources being devoted to hate crime investigation and prosecution? And are there any solutions that you believe we should be considering to help us help you do this job?
Well, I'm grateful for the question, and obviously, if anybody ever wants to give me more resources in any area of the Justice Department's responsibility, I'm happy to take them. We have been focused like a laser on hate crime since I first came into the department. I think my memorandum to the department to develop a anti-hate crime task force was one of the very first memorandums I issued. As we were making our developments in that respect, the Anti-Hate Crime Act was passed by the Congress, providing us with additional funding, which was very helpful. I've established a hate crimes coordinator in the department, and each of our U.S. attorney's offices is on the case, looking into these matters, and the FBI has elevated hate crimes and civil rights violations into their highest band of threats. So I would say we are examining this with the highest degree of urgency that's possible, and we are putting our resources of our department into stopping these heinous acts.
Okay, well, appreciate that. And in addition to resources, if there's specific policy changes or initiatives that you'd like for us to consider, please bring them forward.
My staff would be happy to work with yours if you have ideas in this regard. I think we're pretty, right now I feel like we have the statutes and techniques required, but there's always room for improvement in everything, and we would be happy to work with you in that regard.
Now, the second area I wanted to raise is the issue of labor exploitation of children, and in particular migrant children. I'm hoping you caught a recent New York Times report of their investigation, which put a spotlight on the vast use of migrant child labor across states and across industries. I was particularly alarmed to learn that some of these children are working full adult shifts in food processing facilities and factories after school. Children are being placed in occupationally dangerous situations where they're putting their lives at risk and given little break from grueling work. And many of these children were formerly under the care of the Department of Health and Human Services as unaccompanied minors, but have not received adequate follow-up services once released to the care of a sponsor. And I ask consent to enter this article into the record.
Without objection.
Now, the Biden administration on Monday did announce that it will direct agencies to crack down on the use of child labor. And as part of the new initiative, it's the Department of Labor who will investigate and enforce penalties on these unscrupulous employers and make criminal referrals as needed. Now, the Department of Labor is also going to lead an interagency task force to combat child labor exploitation. So my question is, will the Department of Justice be coordinating with the Department of Labor on criminal referrals and possibly join this interagency task force?
Of course, I read the same article that you're talking about. I was horrified by the reporting. Our criminal division and our civil rights division are reaching out to the Labor Department and HHS to try to be of assistance as much as possible. There's only a limited number of criminal statutes that would apply. I would point out we do have a forced labor task force which has been very active in general, and it includes problems with respect to children, obviously. And I met with them just yesterday, and they have assured me that they would be reaching out as well.
Okay. Look forward to following up on that. But I also can't help but to acknowledge some of the dynamics that lead to these situations. Right. We know that from the private sector, we've heard that there is a need to address the demand for workers. There's a workforce shortage in America today across a number of industries and sectors. There's a reported 11 million unfilled jobs, many of which have historically been filled by immigrants. Permanent, temporary, but we've seen migration numbers drop in recent years. So with no migrants to fill these jobs, since 2018, the U.S. Department of Labor has seen a 69% increase in children being employed unlawfully by companies. So it seems like employers, particularly unscrupulous employers, they're going to find their workers somewhere. And if they're not finding them through traditional lawful means, children become the victims. Further disturbed by proposals I see from Republican legislators in states including Iowa, Ohio, Arkansas, and others, where they're proposing to loosen child labor laws. That's not the solution here. Proposing 14 and 15-year-olds work in meat coolers, industrial freezers, and other environments. This cannot be the answer to our nation's labor problems. So I absolutely look forward to following up with you on this crackdown of unlawful child labor in the United States. My time is up, but I'll have some further follow-up questions in the second round, I hope. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Padilla. We're on a roll.